At the turn of the 19th century, many slaves had already been freed in the United States. Technically free, but not equal, former slaves were cast into a new system of bondage, condemned to a life of low income and poor living conditions. Some feared that free slaves might revolt and start a rebellion. In 1816, abolitionists, politicians, and slaveholders gathered in Washington, D.C. to form the American Colonization Society. They believed the black former slaves would have a more hopeful future in Africa with new opportunities. They began sending black volunteers to the West African colony of Liberia in 1822. The early settlers spoke English, practiced American customs, and even built plantations resembling those they had been freed from. They arrived to fierce resistance from native African tribes who viewed them as threats to their lands and slave trade. The new settlers called themselves Americo-Liberians to separate themselves from what they saw as uncivilized tribesmen. Liberia, meaning land of freedom, officially became an independent republic in 1847 and modeled their government after the United States. They drafted a constitution and elected a president, senators, and representatives, and even adopted a similar flag. When the young independent nation needed money, leaders made a deal to host a rubber plantation for the Firestone Tire Company in exchange for a loan. In order to man the fields, Liberians turned to the exact system they had fled from: forced labor, enriching themselves on the backs of native Africans who were forced to work the plantations. The nation, founded by freed slaves, faced allegations of similar forced labor practices well into the 2000s, leading to decades of civil war. Even knowing the horrors of slavery firsthand and starting with the blueprint for a free society, early Liberians still slipped into a system of bondage. The story of Liberia, whose motto reads, "The love of liberty brought us here," should be read as a